In your book dreams, somebody picks up your book at the bookstore. They open to the very first chapter and they start to read. But then what happens? Either they scoff and they abandon your book baby on the shelves, or they lose track of time and look like a predator stalking your book in the aisles. We want our book to be stalked. So what separates those abandoned pieces from the ones that get toted out of the store? Or e-store, hey, it's the age of the ebook, right? While it may take a lot for somebody to even pick up your book, once you have them there, you can't let them go. The term hook may be thrown around the interwebs very loosely, but your book literally needs to hook your reader's fingers or eyes to the book with vicious resolve. This is your moment. This is the reason you're hovering over your computer right now, so this one person can pick up your book. And it's your job not to let them down. And that starts from the very first words of your book. So, without further ado, here are my top 5 tips to writing a kick-ass first chapter. Number 1. Decide what is important. Since my advice today can be applied to a wide range of genres, it's vital that you decide what's important in your own story. While I write YA, sci-fi fantasy, you might write historical fiction or contemporary romance. The first chapter of each of these should be in stark contrast to one another, and the best way to figure out what's really important in your story is your handy-dandy outline. Don't have one? What the heck are you waiting for? This outline should be like the holy Bible to your story. And once you have it completed, you'll have an idea of what's important to your story and to your characters. Have an outline, but you still don't have a clear idea? Your outline probably needs some work then. I've written some posts and have some other YouTube videos on this topic. I will link them down below if you guys want to see them. But if your book is mostly about love, then have some heartbreak in the first chapter. If it's about a detective who becomes a vigilante, then open with the scene that first cracked his resolve. Maybe that's a murderer getting away because of poor police work or a fluke. Make your first chapter a sneak peek into what the reader should expect for your entire novel. For example, in my novel, a husband is gravely injured in a brutal attack. The rest of the novel centers on the adventure that his 2 children take up to find whoever committed this crime. So what's my first chapter about? The crime, of course. I snag readers with a flash forward scene of the incident that's told from another perspective. That way, when my readers get to the scene where it actually happens, there's no redundant information. And I've successfully snagged my readers' attention. Boom. Number 2, provide some mystery. A first chapter doesn't necessarily need action to hook your reader, but it does need to make your reader curious. Even though curiosity killed the cat, curiosity is going to keep your reader flipping the pages. So how do you make someone curious about what's going to happen in your novel? A little bit of mystery, a pinch of intrigue, and one frog's foot. In all seriousness, you can accomplish some mystery by introducing a strange aspect of your character's life. Can your main character fly? Then talk about it. Not something you want to divulge straight away? Then talk about your character's overwhelming fear of heights, so that when he finds out he can fly, things get really interesting. See what I did there? I expanded on an already existing part of the story so that everything still stays relevant. If your character's looking to find the love of their life, then a fear of heights won't really add any intrigue. That is, unless she falls in love with a skydiving instructor. Want another example? In Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, the Dursleys have a baby dropped on their doorstep in the first chapter. This is the plot point of the first chapter, but the majority of the chapter is all about introducing various strange and magical elements of the story. There's a lot of people walking around in cloaks. Is this a strange new fashion? Cats reading maps? So is Mr. Dursley crazy or something? He who must not be named has been killed, and everyone's rejoicing. Who is this person, and why are we celebrating his death? All of these elements are important to the story, and they're introduced in the first chapter. Rather than telling these things throughout the story in summaries, we're shown these odd things right at the onset of the story. Our curiosity keeps us reading. So take a page from J.K. Rowling. Not literally, that's illegal. And make those curious things important in the beginning. Number 3, put it on hold. A lot of us feel some anxiety when we think about writing the first chapter. We hear all about how it needs to accomplish so much that it can be really daunting. So why would you wait? Aren't you just putting off the inevitable? I started writing my novel in July of 2015. In the months since starting out, my writing has changed dramatically. Yes, I've been writing my entire life, but this is the first time that I've ever written over 100,000 words on any one project. But by the time I got near the end of my story, I had a better idea of where things should actually start out. I knew the essence of the story at this point, and I knew what would make the reader care about my book. If you make really thorough outlines, you can probably just go ahead and jump right into the first chapter. I made the mistake of having a rough outline for my novel. Boo! And ended up changing a lot of things. I was really happy that I waited to write the first chapter because now I know that it includes something of importance to the story. Also, if you have the first chapter jitters, you're gonna feel forever trapped on that first page, just trying to get everything right. So to get over that, I'll start a little ways in, and after getting to know my characters and getting in the swing of things, I'll go back and write it. While there's great importance in the first chapter, it doesn't have to be the first thing that you write. Number 4, decide where to start. This is very important, like life-changing, book-altering, success-making important. Since the first chapter decides whether or not somebody wants to continue reading your book, you need to make sure the point that you start at is worthy of first chapter material. I had an idea of where to start my book from the very beginning. I changed the opening scene, but I knew a long time ago where I wanted to start. How did I know this? I knew that I wanted to start just before the catalyst in my story, which is the father's injury and the mother's disappearance. That way my readers could properly orient themselves into the lives of my characters. You want to give just enough time so that your readers know when these events take place and where. There's literally an infinite number of places that you could start your book. But remember, it's not the beginning of your entire story. You want your readers to believe that they're a part of this character's life and a part of this story. And everyone's life is ongoing. Like in real life, it's really like ongoing. We don't just wake up in the thick of things. Things are already happening. Life is already established. Some conflict is already resolved before we jump into the story. So I think it's useful to consider what your characters were like before the first day of school of your novel. Getting to know your characters like this allows you to add depth to your first chapter. Your writing can then convince the reader that this is an actual person, and that is the first step to getting your reader to care about your character. Number 5, ask for a lot of feedback. Like a lot. Are you worried about your chapter? Don't let it cripple you. Basically, if it involves writing and freaking out, it's totally normal. Instead of letting this worrying halt your writing completely, use it to make your writing better. How can I possibly turn worrying into a good thing? If you're concerned about the quality of your work, then you're already halfway there. Okay, maybe not halfway, writing does take a long time. If you just throw some words onto a page and lock it up on CreateSpace, then don't be surprised if everyone thinks your work is garbage. Just like any part of your book, your first chapter needs to be edited. Duh. How do you know what to edit? Your inner worrywart will tell you exactly what to worry about. So trust your gut. If you hammer out that first chapter but you're still not sure about it, then ask people. Literally, everyone and their mother. Go to a critique partner, a close friend, your parents, your partner. Ask them what they think honestly and objectively about this chapter. Tell them to treat the chapter like a total stranger wrote it. Ask them if they would honestly keep reading it. Would they buy it? If not, then why? Dig for specifics. What didn't they like? Was the dialogue boring? Swallow your pride, but don't choke, and listen to what they're saying. Sometimes you may have to pry the information out of them, so don't be surprised if you feel a little violent when they finally give something up. This is your baby, and it hurts when somebody picks on them. Just remember, you asked for it. You need to know what's off with your writing so that you can improve it. Since the first chapter is so important, feel free to ask everyone their opinion on it. All these people don't have to critique your entire manuscript, so just ask them about the first chapter. And you can always decide to ignore their suggestions if you don't agree with them. It's your book after all. Remember, the important part of the first chapter is to grab your reader's interest. Keep in mind who your target audience is, and think about how you can make your story's premise grip them from the beginning. So some small announcements for my novel really quick. I will finally be releasing some chapters in the coming weeks, and I'm also going to be revealing some of the characters for my story. So if you have any interesting ideas on doing character reveals, or if you have any specific information that you want to know about my characters, make sure to let me know. I still cannot believe I've gotten this far in my story, and I can't wait to share it with you guys. As always, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up so I know that you guys actually like it. And make sure you subscribe to my channel. I post new writing videos every Wednesday. If you ever have any questions or suggestions for a new video, be sure to tweet me at Vivien Reis. By the way, how many of you noticed I cut my hair? I love it.